This sound emanates from an underwater, oil-coated 30-inch pipe where 5 men were forcefully drawn in. These men found themselves in an unbelievable nightmare. Only one of the 5 men survived to recount what happened. A GoPro camera mounted on one of the divers recorded the precise moment disaster struck. What it reveals will send shivers down your spine. February 25th, 2022. A regular day for 5 experienced divers in Trinidad and Tobago. Kazim Ali Jr., Yusuf Henry, Faisal Kurban, Rishi Nagasar, and Chris Budrum were geared up for their job. Their task was fixing up an unused pipeline for Pariah Fuel, a big shot oil company. This company is not a private company. It was a government-owned company. Now, this wasn't your usual fixer-upper. They had to work on a pipeline that made a U-shape from where oil gets unloaded from big ships called Berth 5 to where it enters the refinery called Berth 6. To conduct their work, they needed to keep the water away from the pipe. So, they set up this special cube-like thing called a habitat bell right on top of the pipe. It was like a giant lid that pushed the water out to create a dry space where anyone can work. Inside, they could take off their diving gear and use tools safely. They were like space explorers in an underwater chamber. Their to-do list included taking out this big inflatable plug at Berth 6. This plug was a super tight seal put in 2 weeks earlier to keep the oil safe and sound. Loosening it up wasn't a piece of cake, though. They needed a wrench to do the trick. Kazim Ali handed the wrench to the other guys fixing the pipe. Then he climbed up onto the ledge to take off his diving gear. But here's where things took a wild turn. As soon as they opened the valve, bam! Water surged in so fast, catching everyone off guard. It was like a crazy whirlpool sucking them and all their gear down the pipeline. Total chaos, and they had no clue what was going on. They had no idea what was coming for them. By some stroke of luck, they landed in a spot where there was a little pocket of air. Thank goodness for that. Their GoPro caught the moments right before they got pulled in. And then it all went dark. You can hear the noise and commotion. And out of fear, they were yelling at each other while stuck in this pipe that was meant for oil, not people. But here's the thing. The air that kept them alive ended up pulling them in. So, how did this happen? See, they were taking out this inflatable plug to keep 115.63 liters of oil separate from the air and water. Normally, no biggie. But this time, when they removed it, the air pressure in the habitat pushed the water in faster than they expected. It turned into this crazy, swirling water tornado that swept them away. They stopped and checked where they were, how they felt, and if all 5 men were still there. They yelled to each other and found out that they were all in the pipe together. It was hard to believe, but it was the terrible truth. They did not know where they were in the pipeline. They were lost and confused. The pipe was very long as 4 big fields. The pipe had bumps and curves where it was joined or held. These made places where air could stay. They saw that they were all hurt, but alive. They did not agree on which way to go with 6. They talked and chose to join hands and move as one to one of the ends. The whole pipe was covered with thick, slippery oil mud. It was hard to keep fighting the oil, moving slowly while having broken bones, damaged organs, oil in their eyes and noses, and all of this in total darkness. After trying for an hour, they faced a scary problem. The seawater was getting higher. They kept their heads out of the water, but the first one saw that his face was now very close to the top of the pipe. They could not go on like this. Some of the men were very hurt and could not move much more. Chris Budram and Kazim Ali were the first 2 in the group, and the other men, Yusuf, Faisal, and Rishi, were behind them. They decided that Chris and Kazim would try see if they could find another airplace. They said they would come back with help for everyone. The 2 men kept their faces out of the water as long as they could, then breathed and swam ahead looking for air. They found another airplace near the pipe that might take them out. They were very happy to see 2 of their scuba tanks there. It seemed like this was all they needed to get away. They used almost all the oxygen to go through the next part, but Kazim was more hurt, and he could not move fast. They agreed that it was better for Chris to take the rest of the oxygen and swim to the end of the pipe to get help. He put the tank in front of him and pushed it as he moved forward in a small tube. When he reached the end of the pipe, he had a scary thought. What if this was the wrong place? He would swim up a lot and just hit a plug. There would be no air, and his tank was almost done. He prayed and left the bottom to go to the top. After more than 2 hours in the pipe, Chris was glad to find he had reached the top of the oil water at the right place. He hit and shouted to get the others to notice him. One of the searchers saw him and helped him get out with a chain. Chris was very tired and shocked. He said that there were air places in the pipe and that all the men were still alive. He was taken to the hospital after telling the helpers that there was air and that they were hurt but alive. Until then, the other people of LMCS did not know if they were alive. They thought that the pipe was full of oil and the men would have died in minutes. They also knew that the oxygen tanks would last for an hour each. It had been more than 2 hours since the men had been dragged into the pipeline. But at last, this was a sign of hope. When Chris told them what happened, divers in the water hit the pipe in different places and heard a hit back from inside. The trapped men must have felt very relieved that someone knew they were inside. They knew that skilled divers and things of all kinds would be on the ship above them. Oxygen tanks, rope, lights, help. Hour after hour, they waited to see a light or hear the sound of oxygen tanks coming down. But they saw nothing. They heard nothing. They were not only hurt from the first push, they now had trouble breathing the bad oil air. Each passing hour, the air gets worse and worse. Because of that, breathing is also becoming increasingly harder. No one knows how the mess of the no help happened, but it is a very sad truth that these men were very close to being saved, but no one ever came. They suffered in pain, hit for help, and tried to move themselves to the exit. It must have been a hard thing to know after days stuck in the oil pipe. No one was coming. The things done by LMCS, Pariah Fuel, their sister company Heritage, and the Coast Guard are much argued. Some say that Pariah stopped divers from going into the pipe to save the other men. Pariah says that there was no good way to get the men out without putting more lives in danger. Some think that the men were already dead, and the hitting was from something else. The Coast Guard, LMCS, and family members, who were skilled divers, all have their own story of what happened. The things that are true are these. 4 men were alive at 5 o'clock on Friday when Chris Budrum got out. Many people say that they heard hitting on the pipes from inside for almost 2 days before it stopped. After the bodies were taken out, 2 tests were done. The tests did not agree on when they died, but it was clear that all the men lived until different times on Saturday, and some seemed to have lived until Monday. We do not know if the men died from their hurts, ran out of air, or even died trying to swim to one of the pipeways out.
A tornado, everything just spinning and beating you up, and it happened so fast, I couldn't react. The only thing I remember able to do was cover my head, like in the fetal position. After that, all I remember, I didn't even remember actually getting pulled in the pipe. I just remember getting hurled through the pipe at unbelievable speeds. I couldn't hold my breath no longer, man. Throat. When you're holding your breath for too long, after a while, your body, your lungs just fight. Your airways close, you see a noise. Your body suffering to pull air. An unbelievable nightmare. Your eyes burning. Every time you try to open your eyes, it's burning. You're pitch black, you can't see nothing. Your throat burning. Your ears ringing. Your body sore. And at that point, I tell myself I was gonna end dead.
I'm trying to come up. Chris, General. Chris. Yeah. Yeah. Right behind you, man. All right behind you? You're right behind me? Yeah. Huh? You don't know when you're trying to come up? It's not a problem. Who making all that noise? Come on, all I mean, let's figure it out. We gotta go. We gotta start moving. Yeah. Where you at? I don't know. I'm trying to come up. Trying to come up. But don't worry, all is good. All is good, I'm gonna get with you this. I'm trying to come out. Huh? Who is that more than this? Yusuf? Oh, Yusuf? How long you have to walk before you meet Faizi? You and Faizi was together all the time? Right now we are Faizi. Right now. Who else with you? We are Faizi alone. Can't with you? Right there. Right there where? Can't everything alright with you? No. Any limbs break? All legs break. Your leg, alright. Faiz, anything happen to you? Yusuf, anything happen to you? Yeah, boy. What happened? Alright.